We start with some very big news on this Sunday. The scheduled match between the Bulldogs and the Roosters in the National Rugby League this afternoon has been postponed until tomorrow night after a coronavirus crisis hit the game this morning. Andrew Webster is here to give us all the details. What do we need to know, Webby?
I spoke to Peter V'landys, the ARL Commission Chairman, earlier today, just as we're coming on to air. So he got a call last night from the Bulldogs saying that one of their players, Aidan Tolman, the school where his child goes to, one of the teachers has tested positive to COVID-19. The Commission had an emergency meeting at 8 a.m. this morning, and they decided to postpone today's game at 4 o'clock between the Bulldogs and the Roosters to 7 o'clock tomorrow. The Dragons game against the Sharks will now be played at 4 o'clock, and in the meantime, Aidan Tolman will be is being tested for COVID. They expect a result by midday today. And yeah, that's where it sits right now. So it's pretty quick action from the NRL. Peter V'landys said to me their pandemic experts seem to think the risk of him testing positive is minimal, but they don't want to take any risks in the current environment, as you can expect. So they move swiftly to move that game backwards, and we'll see what happens at midday today.
There'll be some people at home thinking, well, if they can find out the result of that test before the match was set to kick off, why not still go ahead?
I think they just wanted to put in contingencies in place that he does. You know, I think it was just sort of common sense that if they can change it, then they could. So that's why they did it.
Well, I suppose they've got it really, because if he does test positive, which sounds like is highly unlikely, but if he does, then they have to test everyone in the squad, I assume, all the Bulldogs players. So that will take further time, and therefore that would rule out any chance of them playing at 4 o'clock this afternoon.
That's true. It wouldn't be the point whether he's negative or positive. They would have cancelled the game because he would have returned to the squad environment after exposure to his child. And so it would be actually a matter of getting tests from all of those people, and you couldn't afford to put a whole team in with another team that might have a question mark over there.
You said it, Webby. It feels like the league was ready for a scenario like this. Was this all part of, I guess, that checklist, making sure that they were nimble enough to be able to react? Yeah,
I think it just shows how serious they're taking it. I know there's plenty of critics out there about the way the NRL got back so quickly, and I was one of them, but it shows you the protocols that they've got in place. I think it also shows the level of trust that's in the playing group and amongst the players for Aidan Tolman. As soon as he knew that there was a potential that he could have been exposed to testing positive, that he alerted his club straight away, and the Bulldogs told the ARL Commission straight away. So I can't see any reason to criticise the NRL for this, although I'm sure someone will.
There seems, Mark, to be also an air, now that we're in it and this has happened, an air of inevitability about it too, knowing that you can try and isolate these players in squads in 16 teams in one competition and 18 teams in the AFL as much as you like, but they're still going home to their families who are having contact with others. It feels like this was going to happen.
Yeah, and you've seen Benji Marshall kiss a reporter on the cheek. I think Terry Lamb came into a training session when he shouldn't have. All these little breaches, most of them are probably almost subconscious in the way people are breaking the rules occasionally, are going to happen. And I think we've said a number of times on this panel that there's always things that are going to pop up in this new world that we live in that need to be handled. But I agree with Webby. I think the NRL have handled it really quickly. They've got hold of it and said, right, we knew something was going to happen. This is the first one. Let's deal with it and move on, and let's everyone be flexible. So the Dragons and Sharks have to move to earlier today, and the Bulldogs and Roosters move to tomorrow. That's life in the new sporting world.
And I just used your pen, Mark, so we might have to burn that after the show. Speaking of taking things, relaxing things. But I think it also puts in sharp relief the way you cannot separate the NRL from the community in that broader sense of, you know, the better we all do to maintain those conventions of social distancing, the better chance professional sport and community sport has of making a successful comeback. It's pretty good to get to, I think, 3 rounds without a scare that has a very low chance of actually translating to a positive. But still, how many times will a broadcaster cop a cancelled or postponed game?
Well, I guess seeing how it's all unfolded now, and as you mentioned, your Dragons playing the Sharks this afternoon becomes the 9 game, so you'll be able to see that. Chemist Warehouse Sunday footy from 3 p.m. We've had to jump into a new game this afternoon, so preparation for that one, which we do preparation, has gone out the window.
There goes your nap.
I guess, no nap this afternoon. But when you look at this scenario, I guess the damage has been limited in the fact where there's no fans well, there's a limited amount of fans. If you're talking ticket sales of tens of thousands, and we're not there yet, but we know the league wants to get to that point, that probably made this decision to happen so swiftly a lot easier.
It certainly did. I also think it shows just how transparent the game has been with it. The fact that Peter Volandis picked up the phone after 3 rings and gave me the whole story, box and dice, straight away. Now, the cynic in me and a lot of people were that if there was any inkling of a corona positive, that they would sweep it under the carpet and keep it on the down low because they didn't want to scare anyone. They didn't want questions being asked about whether they should be going or not. I think the fact that they've been so open about it is a pretty good sign.
Okay. Well, it's a
rugby league.
remarkable story, this one. So just recapping, if you are just tuning in, the match between the Bulldogs and the Roosters this afternoon, which you're going to be seeing on 9 in the National Rugby League, postponed to tomorrow night. Instead, the 6:30 kickoff match tonight between the Dragons and the Sharks now becomes the afternoon match, which you can see live on 9 from 3 p.m. this afternoon. So I guess well done to all those involved. And now we cross our fingers. I guess the scenario here is that obviously it's a negative result for Aidan Tolman and it's business as usual.
Let's hope.
If that is such a thing in rugby league at the moment. Okay, don't go anywhere. We've got stacks to get through. Just